workers to sign new contracts has been extended until the 10th of November. Their unions concerned those who don't agree to the new terms are facing the sack. In sports, Scottish Rugby has wished England good luck ahead of tomorrow morning's World Cup final with South Africa. Eddie Jones's sides have also received best wishes from the Queen and Prince Harry. Meanwhile, comedian Jack Whitehall has travelled to Japan for the match. He's reluctantly optimistic.
I far prefer going into these games going, we're going to lose, it's all going to be doom and gloom.
And then everything's an upside.
I hate going in with optimism, it's horrible.
Yeah,
that's why I support Arsenal.
Well,
I make sure in my whole sporting array of teams that I'm never entering into anything with confidence.
And Granit Xhaka has been left out of Arsenal's squad for tomorrow's Premier League game with Wolves. The club captain apologised last night for his angry reaction towards his own fans during last weekend's draw with Crystal Palace. That's the latest. I'm Barry Weir.
Love Sport Radio, on digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is the Chelsea Fans Show.
Good evening. You are listening to Love Sport Radio, and this is the Chelsea Fan Show with me, Matt Beadle, and the boys from the Chelsea FANCAST, Stanford Chidge and Clayton Bierman. Not, however, with a certain someone, Mr. Chidge.
Well, indeed. We were hoping to have the absolute Chelsea legend that is Kerry Dixon on the show with us, but sadly Kerry was unable to make it today, so we brought in a very late... I mean, you know, Chelsea have been very famous this season for bringing in the youth, haven't they, Clayton?
Yeah.
Well, don't ever let it be said that the Chelsea FANCAST does not sing from the same song sheet, because we have got our youngest ever debut maker on the Chelsea FANCAST, which is Clayton's son, Charlie. Yeah. Hello, hi. Charlie. Need to move near to the mic.
Hi.
There you go. So it's lovely to have Charlie on board.
It is lovely to have Charlie on board.
Two Beermans and a Chidge.
Lovely.
Walked into a pub.
And it's funny you mentioned youth, of course. Youngest starting 11 in a League Cup game.
It was, wasn't it?
Since
it was
United
indeed.
In 2012 for Chelsea. Of course, the run of the Lucky Seven came to an end against the Red Devils, fellas. 2-1.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the game?
Well, I thought we were just not at the races in the first half, and it can happen, and you've seen it happen before. I'm sure we'll see it happen again. I thought they were really, really good in the second half. I don't know what Frank said, but they played much, much better. Ultimately, they were. I mean, there are two things. Firstly, I think they were done by two set pieces. I mean, a penalty. I thought it was a penalty.
It was a penalty.
Yeah, and it was soft, but it was a penalty. And an absolutely amazing free kick from Rashford. But the thing I want to fire back at you, so I was having a go at Paddy earlier. Clayton wasn't here then, but I'm surprised by United. I mean, in their own way, I thought they played quite well, but they pack the midfield, they defend for their lives, and they hit you on the break. But it's very like the way Mourinho played. There's no creativity from midfield. How many shots did United have on target?
Three. No, yeah.
3.
I haven't got a problem.
I don't. We used to do that brilliantly. I got no problem with that.
They came and did a job.
Yeah, and they did it well.
The reason we didn't play well in the first half was because they didn't let us play well. They were...
I don't think we played well either. We were not pressing as much. We
couldn't do anything because they were pressing us and we weren't finding solutions. And we had a couple of players who had stinkers. And,
But, look... I hear what you say, and of course, it's not always about one side, and every other side has a right to stop the other one playing. But I don't think we were doing what we needed to do well enough. We weren't getting wide enough. We weren't getting behind them. We weren't breaking the lines enough. We had 3 midfielders
who were all the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you've got Mount in midfield or Kante in midfield with the remarkably good Jorginho and Kovacic, who are developing into an absolutely superb midfield partnership. Yeah. But Billy Gilmour is also a midfielder in their mould. He's not going to break the lines and get forward. Frank got him to do that in the second half, but that's what we were missing.
Yeah, we were. But the fact is that Ross is injured. so he couldn't play. He would have played, I think, because he would have been a different midfielder. I think the ironic thing was I thought we looked quite leggy, and it's a young side, and I think 7 wins in a row. I made the point that the 7 wins have masked the fact that this is a transitional season, and we will play like we played on Wednesday in the first half on more than one occasion. And I wasn't, at the end of the day, you want to win, but I wasn't crestfallen that we lost, because I think we need a bit more breathing space. I mean, the amount of games we've got between now and Christmas. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. And as I said, sometimes we're so myopic about ourselves that we don't look at the opposition, and for all their lack of creativity, it was an away tie. They came and did a job, and they did a job on us, and I really can't. I haven't got any complaints.
Well, I mean, without kind of stealing Matt's thunder, if you like, I think in a sense it summed United up when they go and play a side like Chelsea who will come at them. Then they look a better side because they can hit them on the break. But they stuff Norwich, of course, and Norwich will come at you. If they play a side that basically defends with 11 men behind the ball, they have trouble because they don't create enough. Yeah. And if I'm a United fan, I'm delighted that we stuffed Chelsea. I mean, not that you stuffed us, but a win is a win. But I would be worried about that.
I think that, to go back to your earlier question about the lack of creativity in midfield, I think a lot of that boils down to personnel. I think the fact that he's tending to favour the 3 at the back now, as you'll see, obviously it was Rojo, Lindelof and Maguire who started against you guys. Brandon Williams was on the left as well. So
he's good.
It looks pretty decent. Yeah. But the middle,
especially his sort of WWE smashing Callum Hudson-Odoi to the ground. That was good.
I know you could hear Gary Neville as well, sort of almost applauding that. Yeah. Which, to be fair, do I have a big problem with? Perhaps not. I think as a, if
it was the other way around, I'd have been loving it.
Yeah. If you see Hudson-Odoi doing that, you're like, that's what we want to see.
Joey Jones used to do that and put people in the 4th row. We loved it, didn't we?
Absolutely.
But in terms of that midfield creativity, you had your 2 centre midfielders in Fred and Scott McTominay. Now, Scott McTominay looks like he's starting to become, like you were saying about Jorginho and Kovacic, he looks like he's really starting to become at home in that United midfield now. But he's an industrious player. He might weigh in with the odd goal, but he's not a creative midfielder.
He's an enforcer.
He's an enforcer. Fred is, getting game time. He's just starting to maybe look a little bit more accomplished in the middle of that midfield, if you could say that. Andreas Pereira came on as well.
I'm just listening to the scraping of that barrel.
Yeah, well, listen, but that's it though. I mean, that's exactly it.
He's I don't know what he does.
No,
excuse me, Steward's inquiry here. Shouldn't we call him Frej? He's not Fred, is he? He's Frej.
But yes, and that's why, if you look at, Pogba's obviously not there at the moment, and actually the way that United are playing without Paul Pogba, you're starting to think, crikey, it's looking more increasingly likely that he could be on his way in January. Paddy's in Chidge's ear there, I think. Go on, Pads.
I can't repeat what he said.
Okay. That's our producer, Paddy. But with Jesse Lingard there as well. So in terms of lack of creativity in midfield, it's because United don't have any. Juan Mata, I suppose you could point to, but it's difficult for him now getting older. He's not playing that role in United's midfield anymore.
I think, to cut a long story short, I think I wonder if you share this frustration. If I was frustrated by anything, it was that it took us so long to figure out how to deal with that. I thought we did deal with it much better in the second half, because we went at United and we did try and break the lines. Gilmour got in a far more advanced positions, and we got down the wings and got behind the defence. And then what really let us down was that inability to put the ball in the back of the net, and that can happen.
Yeah, and actually, I agree with that, and I agree with your... Well, I'll come back to your point about the fact that you were talking about the amount of games that Chelsea are playing as well. I know they're professional footballers, and this is their job, but if you look at... Since that first win against Grimsby after the Liverpool defeat, it's been Wednesday, Saturday, Saturday. Then you had the international break, so they had a rest. Yeah. But then you've got...
Well, they didn't, because half of them were out playing.
Well, of course, yeah. Very, very good point, of course. And then it was Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday. So it's a lot of football.
We might as well play in the Flaming Championship, mate.
But yeah, what you've got to think is it's not only physical, because they're young kids and physically they're fine. It's mentally, because this is this is a big thing. And
absolutely right.
When all said and done, you sort of step back on Wednesday. Billy Gilmour, Mark Gurhey. Thank you, Charles. Yeah. And Reece James. All of them look great. They didn't look out of place, and that's another 3 below the level of the young players that are coming in. and it's only good. And if this is a transitional season, which I think it is, what a squad we're building. What an absolutely fantastic squad.
An incredible squad. And I think it's something to hugely be excited about. I know Frank Lampard came out as well and did say, I thought we were the better team and you can't legislate for conceding with 2 set pieces. But I know we say it week in, week out really on this show, but hugely exciting. The names that you just mentioned there, to now be in the squad. And when we used to watch these League Cup games of old, going back to, the late 90s when these players used to come in, like, was the lad Crittenden? Was that one of the players?
Oh, yeah, God.
Crittenden coming in.
God, blimey, that's a name.
I don't know why I thought of that.
I was like somebody walking over your grave then.
What
I had that kind
about-
of shiver.
What about Robert Wollaston?
Robert Wollaston. Goodness
That's another
me.
one that I
Do
can
you
think about.
remember Roger, was it Freestone Fire? Oh, God.
Roger
Cundy always used to call him 25 stone.
Roger Freestone.
The
Freestone.
goalkeeper.
Goalkeeper.
Yeah.
We got... we sold to Swansea, or bought from Swansea. I can't remember.
He
which
went.
way
No, he
round.
went to Swansea.
He went to Swansea. He was in the first team. I reckon if we look that up, he played quite a lot of games. I thought he was not our finest goalkeeper.
No. Well, that's why I asked, because you are goalie 59.
Yeah, no, he was.
Yeah.
I remember one time sitting my season ticket in the Lower East stand when he sort of laboured after a ball that went into the corner, and I was just thinking, God, I could have saved that. But then again, I could have saved everything.
Indeed.
Around 50 appearances in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Very good work on the old laptop there.
Yeah, very quick on
I
that.
didn't even
You should
see
be,
it.
You should be doing
I
that.
call you the Flash, man.
Youth
Flash Beadle.
opportunity should be looking
Should
up.
be, yeah, should know it.
Absolutely.
But yes, when you think of those players who used to play in those League Cup games, and you thought there's not a hope in hell they're going to be anywhere near the first team. But now you look at these youth teamers and you think they've got a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, on a positive point, we should absolutely sit here and say, didn't Mark Gay look fantastic? Another Chelsea player that's wandered into the side and who looks like he's been playing there for years. I thought he was superb.
He was outstanding, and the reason why he was outstanding is because you didn't notice him.
Well, exactly. Like a good soundtrack in a movie, mate.
Exactly.
If you notice it, it's wrong.
But I just, I think Billy Gilmore, as you say, in the first half, I think they were all tripping over each other because they basically hadn't all played together. Second half, as you say, more advanced. Great player. Absolute great player. I can see him going out on loan next year. I just can, because you've got Colin Gallagher, who's probably going to come back as well next year.
Looking very good as well.
And there's somebody called Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
Well,
he's got to come back.
I'm
What a problem.
Well, I'm going to pen something on this if I get a moment tomorrow. But it's just
Get your quill out.
Yes. Indeed. Get my Caxton printing press out.
Exactly.
But it's
Wasn't
just
it John Bulldog.
What?
Was it
Why?
John Bulldog? They used to have the
John
stamps.
Bulldog?
Yeah,
Bulldog?
they used to have the little stamps and all the.
Did they?
I think so.
No, maybe. But we seem. I have no idea what he's talking about. We have an abundance of.
Kiddo would have known.
He would have done, but he's
could probably-
considerably older than me. Anyway,
He'd probably ring in or tweet us.
yeah.
and
Well,
tell
no,
us.
he's at a dinner at
Have a
Lord's.
look. Have a look. If there's John Bull printing sets.
Yeah. There you go.
Go on,
Google it.
Youth
We've
opportunity.
got an abundance of talent at the moment. And,
Yeah.
and I mean, at the start of the season, you were wondering who was going to play in the side. And now we've got, I think, genuine competition for nearly every place in that team. And that is just way beyond what I even hoped for at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Jess, we've had a very interesting tweet in. He raises a very good point. And Mr. Steve
Good
Martin
old Steve.
says, gents, could we be considered flat track bullies? Liverpool 2 losses, Man United 2 losses, Leicester home draw. Discuss.
Do you want to have a bash at that first?
Yes, I will do. I don't think we're flat track bullies. I think if you look at the games that we've played, the 2 games against United and 2 games against Liverpool, I don't think in any of those games we deserve to lose. I mean, obviously we lost, especially the first game. We got absolutely hammered, but we for 60 minutes we played really well. I think that what you're looking at is a team that's evolving and a lack of goal threat in those games more than anything else. I mean, if you think about the Liverpool game, we were Mason Mount's ankle away from getting a point. I mean, the Super Cup, we lost on pens.
We were the better side.
And
in
we
that.
were the
The 2
better
Liverpool
side.
defeats are a bit of a joke,
know,
really.
But
You can't
I think this is the point, Matt. I mean, the 4-0 from United, I know we played well, but we did get a stuffing there. But I think all the others that we've played well or we've been the better side, But I mean, the reality is we need to be winning some of these matches.
No, I think Steve makes a really good point.
Does.
We basically do need that first.
We need a scalp, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
We do. How about City after the international break? That'd be nice.
Okay, but I mean, you could actually say that beating Ajax away from home is a big scalp.
That's a very good point, actually, and that was the best performance we put in this season.
Indeed, it was. This is the Chelsea Fan Show on Love Sport. Plenty more coming up.
Giving your team the coverage they deserve. Love Sport Radio. Are you being fobbed off by a company? Are they letting you down? And are your complaints falling on deaf ears? We can help you out. Come to aspokesmansaid.com and we will give you a voice and a platform to raise your complaints. As recommended in the Daily Telegraph, aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Hi, I'm Dean. I work for a successful shipping company in Suffolk. Ever since I heard about people's success with aspokesmansaid.com, I knew I had to investigate for myself. Every time I need to compare car insurance, home insurance and energy bills, I always contact aspokesmansaid.com. This year alone, I saved over £260 on my car insurance and also £585 on my energy bills. I saved big through aspokesmansaid.com, and you could too.
With aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U. Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus a stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
As a parent, you always want to protect your kids, so make sure their vaccinations are up to date. Measles and whooping cough are on the rise and can cause severe illness, but childhood vaccinations can help prevent them. Are your child's up to date? Find out more. Search online for NHS vaccinations.
Love Sport.
This is the Chelsea Fan Show on A Love Sport. Me, Matt Beadle, here with the boys from the Chelsea Fancast. Stanford Chidge, as always, Clayton Bierman, and a new addition for tonight's show, Mr. Charlie. Hello, Charlie.
Hiya.
There he is.
The brains of an otherwise no-brain outfit.
Well, certainly no brain
Absolutely.
family.
I must report that it's been riveting stuff here during those ads, because I've been shown by Mr. Bierman, the
senior.
Sorry, Mr. Bierman Senior. Mr. Bierman Senior, of course.
It's easy for you to say, Matt.
No, well, I was a goalkeeper, so Seaman.
There we go. Okay,
Yeah,
the safest of hands.
Yeah.
Let's all do the Seaman. Do you remember doing that?
Yes, I do.
No. He was really good about that,
He
actually.
was brilliant. He was brilliant. It was the last game of the season.
Yeah. I mean, let's have a little divert into talking about goalkeepers, because I know how much you love that. But I think this is the wonderful and rare thing about goalkeepers. They're so close to the either the home or the away fans, depending what you are. That it's an interesting kind of dynamic, isn't it? And Paul Robinson was pretty good with supporters. He used to get a lot of stick from us.
And rightly so.
Yeah, but he responded to it well.
Why did Paul Robinson get stick?
He was Spurs goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Any Spurs goalkeeper gets stick.
I've talked to him about it. I met him and talked to him about it, and he said, you lot used to give me a lot of stick, but he didn't get antsy about it, and and I think that's the kind of the weird relationship fans have with a goalkeeper. It's very different from other players. And I mean, when we used to do that, we basically stood behind David Seaman one season. It seemed like hours, but it was probably about 3 minutes. We're all doing this.
It was because
he'd let the goal in.
It was the last game of the season, and they'd lost the Cup Winners' Cup on the Wednesday.
That's right.
And then they played us on the Sunday. So
it was that game.
If
not
you're
the World
David
Cup,
Seaman,
right.
who do you really want to be playing after you've done that? And basically, he came to, his end down the Matthew Harding, and literally everybody
was
went
going, let's all do the Seaman, let's all do the Seaman.
And he applauded
he turned
it.
around and he gave it that.
The best thing you can do.
I thought that was brilliant.
So after Naeem, Sarah Gothard, crikey. Brilliant. Probably the worst time you could be playing Chelsea.
He probably saw who was playing on the Sunday and just his head went, oh no. I suppose Spurs were the only one worse than playing us.
Yeah. But you're right. In terms of that relationship they have, goalkeepers with fans, there is just something special there. And the best thing to do is just get on with them. And 9 times out of 10, it is respectful. And you leave and you clap them and you go, do you know what? For 90 minutes, that was good banter and we move on.
Yeah.
Another one on that, but actually a kind of almost like friendly fire, really. Ross Turnbull, when we played Brentford in the Cup down at Griffin Park, we spent hours, again, it was minutes, but it sounded like I go, Ross Turnbull's won a European Cup. We were doing it ironically, you see, because I mean, like, what part did he play in it?
Yeah.
You know, and he kept on turning around and applauding us. I don't think he realised that we were taking the mick.
And he gave away a ridiculous penalty. He you know when they talk about goalkeepers going down in instalments, that was Ross. Bless him. Well, funny enough, we signed him just after we'd beaten Middlesbrough 5-0. So go figure.
Yeah, classic Chelsea. There you go. Anyway,
coming to a certain podcast near you, Ross Turnbull. So keep an eye out at some stage.
Oh, really?
You
talk to him about that. Now you know the inside.
I'm definitely going to bring that up. Absolutely.
He might not realise. It'd be awful.
I know. That's kind of why I want to bring it up.
You're such a mean journalist.
We'll deny.
Tell him it was Clayton who came up with it.
Yeah,
I will do. Moving on to a man who may well win a European Cup at some stage in his career with Chelsea, Michy Batshuayi.
Well, there we go.
What a goal.
What an amazing goal, wasn't it? I jumped out of my seat.
I mean, it was.
I didn't know he was capable of that.
It was an extraordinary goal considering he was having a stinker of an evening.
He was having a Batshuayi.
That's classic Batshuayi, though, isn't it? That's it.
But this is him. The Ajax game misses an easier chance and he scores.
Yeah.
But he keeps coming back and he keeps coming back.
I love that.
I was actually quite disappointed he got taken off on Wednesday because I would have liked to have seen him with a 2.
Yeah.
I mean, he was having a stinker because he is not a lone striker.
Oh, but that was the embodiment of a lone striker's goal. I mean, what do we say? What do we say about people who have to play up front on their own? They have to be able to create something on their own, and he did it with skill and brute force. It was Drogba-esque, mate.
I know.
And the way he held off, like he gave Maguire a shove. Lindelof was tracking
Stewart's
back.
inquiry.
As was Marcos Rojo. Right, Charlie, come on, your thoughts.
Costa scored a really similar goal.
He did,
I think Batshuayi got the assist for that one.
Do you remember who was that against?
Was it West Ham? Maybe?
Yeah, was it a last-minute winner?
I think it was.
Vaguely remember that. Yeah.
Well,
so it's Costa-esque as well as Drogba-esque.
I think the only disadvantage with him, he seems really selfish on the ball. Which is a good thing for a striker, but he doesn't seem to see the run of other players.
He's not very aware, is he?
He's very tunnel vision. Yeah. He sees the post, he wants to score a goal, which sometimes, of course, we know is a good thing for a striker.
But I think his movement's getting better, though. One of the things I noticed, that goal he scored against Ajax, is that I remember when he started playing for Chelsea, he was very static. He's now pulling off defenders, in the box. No sniggering in the ranks. And he epitomised that against Ajax, but he stole a couple of yards, and that's what I want to see. I mean, to be fair, I'm biased. I've always loved strikers who have superb movement, and actually this is appropriate. The best striker I've seen for movement in my life is Gianluca Vialli. He was the he was the master of it. Closely followed up by Hernan Crespo, actually, but Luca was the best. And wasn't it lovely to see the We're the Shed Boys with their Forza Vialli?
So thoughts with Gianluca.
Yeah, I'm sure he's
listening.
Pancreatic cancer, I think, which is awful.
Has he been ill before?
He's been ill for a while, but I think he's got worse. I think that's why the news is broken. But he's one of my all-time favourite Chelsea players, and he is, as I said, I've never seen a striker with better movement than Luca Vialli. He was just phenomenal, so intelligent.
One of the best strikers in terms of movement was Torres, but unfortunately not when he played for us.
Usually falling on his rear end, mate.
Yeah, no, he was. I mean, listen,
in instalments.
I've got a lot of time for him. I really
Torres.
have. I think he tried really hard.
Chelsea love a trier.
Yeah.
I was going to say trying really hard, though. I mean,
yeah,
he just lost his powers. He lost his powers when he got injured in 2010.
He wasn't an X-Men character, mate.
But it was bizarre. Just everything about Fernando Torres losing his ability to play football, which I believe Charlie has a point to make on.
I think half the money we paid for him was for him to stop scoring against us.
Yep, good point.
Pretty much.
Good point, well made.
He always scored.
What I want to know, Charlie, and I think this all came out in the wash, didn't it? That we bought him when he was clearly injured, and in fact, he was probably never going to be the same player again. I think that's appalling due diligence from the club, if true.
Well, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but there was a very long explanation that came out years afterwards that basically Liverpool
conned us.
No, they didn't con us. They
mugged us off.
They had to have a certain amount more than what they were going to.
They basically didn't expect him to go because they knew how badly injured he was. And I think it was a vanity purchase. I think that was a time where we wanted to make a huge statement, and unfortunately we made it in the wrong place. But
you mean when Roman was the head of transfer policy?
I couldn't possibly comment. But the point is that you'll never ever take away the goal he scored in the Nou Camp.
Nope. Or in Amsterdam.
Or in Amsterdam, and that's 50 million of anybody's
or
money.
Against West Ham, his first goal,
and got the corner
with the help of a sodden pitch.
But Matt, here's the thing.
Go on.
I mean, I've seen a lot of Chelsea goals in my lifetime, but I've seen few that have been celebrated as wildly as that one was.
Because we were desperate for him to be the Fernando Torres that played for Liverpool, and
that's one of the toughest things I think as fans, when you just want a player you want them to produce, you want them to be so good, and it's just quite upsetting when they're trying, and like you said, we love a trier, but that you just never really produce the form.
But there's something quite weirdly, deeply nostalgic about Chelsea fans loving triers more than in the sense that they love players with natural ability.
But do you not?
Because we've had so many players who had no natural ability but really tried.
Yeah, and to me, as a football fan, that's all I want.
Yeah, definitely.
As long as I don't see anything left out there. I mean, the football player or players who get it in the neck are the ones that the fans perceive aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing and aren't trying. Now, 9 times out of 10, we don't know. We can only see from the stands, and they might be trying and they might not be able to do it. But as long as you can see somebody's been running around and trying as hard as they can, it's the ones that shrug, that hide. They're the ones that get it in the neck.
And that's what we love about Batshuayi, frankly. I think he's popular down at the Bridge because he doesn't give up. And I mean, I think it's, it must have been quite soul-destroying for him at the beginning of the season to realise very quickly how good Tammy Abraham was and to see him go off to such a great start. But number one, he's kept plugging away, and he's scored, I think that's the first time he's scored in 3 consecutive games for about, 2 years or so. And he's delivering. He is delivering.
He is.
And we need 2 good strikers.
But he must be encouraged by the fact that I suspect that he started as the season as number 3 striker. He's now number 2 striker.
Absolutely right.
But when we go back on the transfer ban and saying, I think the general perception is that we don't actually want to buy anybody because we don't want to break up the spirit of what's going on this season, etc., etc. But I do actually think we desperately need another striker.
Well, there's a good chance Ollie might go in January anyway.
Really?
Well, I think he might. Yeah, if he's not
real
getting
lack
any
of
games,
game time, isn't it?
He's not
real lack of game time for Ollie Giroud.
That would be such a risk. Or you're hamstring away from being left with either, I mean, if Tammy does a hamstring, and he has been injured over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And then
I agree.
Then what we got? We just got the Batman, and that'll be it if you let Giroud go. Because for all the talent that we've got in our youth, there isn't anybody, I think, that sort of an out-and-out forward who's waiting in the wings to come in.
No, I agree. And that's a really interesting point, actually. We've got depth. Go on, Charlie.
I think there is someone on loan, Ugbo.
Yeah, he's good, but I'm not quite sure how good he is.
Or something.
Maybe.
Don't know.
Could do, I think, potentially a risk at this stage, though. I think for him to come into that starting lineup.
I like Ollie's experience, and I think whatever he does in the dressing room is probably worth its weight in gold. They would be foolish to let him go in January, but I mean, what do? He's 32. He needs to play games.
He does, but very useful for Europe, and we know that obviously top scorer in the Europa League last season as well, wasn't he? Just lastly, gents, before we move on.
Yes.
Out of the Carabao Cup now, is this potentially a blessing in disguise? We've got the FA Cup, we've got the Champions League, we've got hopes of a top 4 finish now. So to be out of the Carabao Cup, not the worst thing in the world.
No, not really. I mean, I hate losing. I particularly hate losing to your mob. But the bottom line is that we're still in the Champions League, and it looks like we will be in it after Christmas. I think the only downside, really, apart from I hate losing, is the fact that it might mean less game time for the likes of Gay and a few of the other fringe youngsters, and it would have been really good, Billy Gilmore, etc., to get them more game time. But I think it might help us in the long term in terms of a top 4 challenge, which I think is definitely on the cards.
Indeed it is. Well, we shall move on next to the game against Watford. Watford, of course, without a win in the Premier League this never won a game. Chelsea go to Vicarage Road on Saturday. We'll be chatting all about that next.
This is Love Sport. Are you paying too much for your car and home insurance? A Spokesman Said is the price comparison site that offers the best deals on the market for your energy and insurance. Go to aspokesmansaid.com and you could be reducing your bills in minutes.
With aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Tenna men. Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're
secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
Hi, my name's Bob. I'm a retired civil servant from Durham. I used the advice that a Spokesman Said gave me to haggle with Sky to reduce my monthly payments from £86 per month to £43 per month, which was a saving of £774 over the 18-month contract. A nice little result, if I say so myself, but it was only due to a Spokesman Said and his brilliant advice that I was able to do a deal for the new contract.
With aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle, or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Apparently the Home Office has been told by police recruiters that their millennial rookies have been wrapped in cotton wool and are routinely shocked that police are expected to work nights and weekends and they don't like confrontation. Now, as a police officer, you imagine that's an issue, isn't it? Excuse me, can you just stop it? Can you just put that knife down and just... Honestly, I haven't had my soya latte today and I just can't handle this. I just can't, you know?
Let's just have a conversation.
Just talk about it. Why can't we just... Actually, can I just stop you there? That was very offensive, what you just said. Very offensive. Okay, and while I've done that, can I get an apology? Oh, you've run away, have you? Right. Please, stop. You stop crossing me. You're going to rip my caftan. Yeah.
Weekdays from 6 a.m. This is Love Sport.
This is indeed Love Sport. It is the Chelsea Fan Show with me, Matt Beadle, here with the guys from the Chelsea Fancast, Stamford Chidge, Clayton Bierman, and Clayton Bierman's son, Charlie Bierman. Hello, Charlie.
Hi.
Our youth alumni here today, of course. Softly spoken youth. Don't you just love
Makes
the
a
youth of
change.
today? Sorry?
Makes a change from the usual rabble we have in here.
Of course, if you do want to get in touch with us, it's very easy to do so. 0208 70 20 558. You can WhatsApp us on that number as well, or tweet us, if you like, at Love Sport Radio. Now, gents, we are going to move on to tomorrow's game. It is the late kickoff, 5:30 p.m. You travel to Vicarage Road, to Watford, who have not won a game all season. Chelsea, of course, conversely, 4 straight away wins for the first time in Chelsea's history, scoring 3 or more goals in each.
17 goals in 4 away games.
Incredible.
It is, isn't it? But I'm kind of not surprised. I think that we are very much set up for that in the way that Frank sets us up and the way that we like to play, because the home teams will usually come at us, and I think that gives us a bit more space. I think what we have done this season, weirdly, is struggled more at home, where a lot of the weaker teams will just basically, try and get away with a draw or not getting beaten. And it's been hard for us to figure out how to break them down. And I think that's kind of symptomatic of a slightly younger side, because I think it's a bit of a misnomer to say, I think this is kind of weird myth and perception about Chelsea that it's basically a team full of 15-year-olds. It's not, no offence, Charlie. It's not. There are some youngsters in there, but there are a lot of very serious, senior
very
experienced
healthy
players
blend of
in
youth
there,
and experience.
So there you go.
Yeah, no, I think it is the team is emerging, but I think a lot of the sort of harder to break down teams would be less hard to break down if you had a battering ram like Ruben Loftus-Cheek running at them, which is what we haven't got.
Yeah, although we have a Christian Pulisic to run at them and scare the hell out of them like we did at Burnley last week, and he was absolutely the difference last week.
Oh, completely. But there's a sort of a gain line, isn't there? If you're in midfield and they're banked up, etc. I think even Burnley didn't try and defend. I think they came at us, and they made mistakes which we exploited, or Pulisic exploited brilliantly, and it was just, it was fabulous. It was absolutely fabulous to watch. But I think, Watford have last 2 or 3 games they've kept clean sheets, and I think they've really tightened up.
They have.
I think that they will certainly, they won't be coming at us. I think they'll be. It would definitely be proper Chelsea to lose to Watford tomorrow, because it's what we do and it's what we've done throughout our history. I'll never forget we came back from the San Siro having secured a draw at AC Milan.
Not when Dennis Wise scored a goal.
When Dennis Wise scored a goal, and we came back
with 10 minutes to go
played Watford
in the San Siro
on the Saturday and lost.
I know, that's classic Chelsea, isn't it? You say that though, Clayton.
I did say that.
Well, you did in fact say that. But what I would say is that whilst Watford have, tightened up at the back, number one, they just don't seem to do well against decent teams. Well, there we go. Proof of needed. They drew against Arsenal, but they lost 8-0 to City. They drew against Tottenham, so there we go. Another team that no good. All the good teams they lose to. So I feel quite confident going into this game. Plus the fact, and here's the killer, they got so much trouble up front. Welbeck's out, Troy Deeney's out. They're having to use Deulofeu as a kind of an augmented number 9, an auxiliary number 9. They're finding it really tough to score, and the fact of the matter is that Chelsea will probably score.
I think so, without a shadow of a doubt.
Watford are going to have to score if they're going to beat Chelsea, and I can't see how they are, apart from with a set piece, obviously, before you say so.
I don't think you've got any problems tomorrow. I know they've drawn, I think, they were unbeaten in 3, aren't they? So they drew against Spurs, they drew against Sheffield United, which was goalless, and they drew against Bournemouth, of course, which was goalless as well. They obviously went out to Everton in the Carabao Cup in the week. So, yeah, I don't know. I can't see Chelsea having too many problems. You mentioned Pulisic as well. Surely he's going to start again.
He's going to be on fire after last week.
Was it the youngest player to score a hat-trick for Chelsea?
Well, I don't see why not. I
think you batter his confidence.
If he's fit and he's not tired, you start him, because his confidence must be sky high.
Instead of Callum, who didn't have a particularly good game on Wednesday.
I think we missed Willian on Wednesday hugely, and I think poor old Willian gets such stick, and I think he's such an important player for the side.
I think he does get stick, but I'm beginning to see a real mood change from the fans, because I think...
Don't tell me they're fickle, Clayton. Who knew?
Who knew? I just perceive that fans are now seeing his worth, and maybe he was... not hiding behind, but maybe he basically...
I've always loved him.
I know you have, and you've said that. And you made the point that once Hazard went, he would basically step up and into that role.
That's why I like Clayton on the show. I love this man too. Almost as much as I love William.
Yeah, but it's true. And you watch William play. I think that the one thing, and I've said this over the years, is his inconsistency can drive you bonkers.
Oh, yeah.
But he has been less inconsistent.
He has.
Is that a phrase?
Yeah. He's been more consistent.
He has been more consistent rather than less inconsistent.
And I think once you almost accept that he is that type of player as well, that's almost what endears him to the fans, I suppose. Of course, nominated for the Player of the Month award, William.
Has he really?
Yes,
I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Bizarrely, so now we obviously have so many different entities of Player of the Month. It's ridiculous. So we have Willian, who has been nominated for the Premier League Player of the Month award. Christian Pulisic, on the other hand, has been nominated for the PFA Player of the Month.
Wow.
And then you have Frank Lampard, who's been shortlisted for the Premier League Manager of the Month award.
Wow.
Which will go to Jurgen
Klopp.
Klopp.
Well, there's Klopp, Potter, Rodgers, and Dean Smith. Yeah, so you would imagine
Klopp, and Klopp.
Yeah, yeah, you'd probably think so. Do you see him laughing away when his team were conceding goals again? Complete
That
lack
was
of respect
nuts.
to the
5-all?
opposition. Yeah, bonkers.
The hell is all that about?
Completely bonkers game. Which, hey, tomorrow night it may well be. Of course, this is the Chelsea Fan Show on Love Sport. We are going to be speaking to Derek Payne, ex-Watford, next.
Giving your team a voice. Love Sport Radio. Listen to Love Sport Radio on your smartphone today. Simply download the free Love Sport app from the App Store or Google Play. Tap the play button and you'll be able to listen to your favourite station. Anytime, anywhere. Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Tenna men. Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're right.
Secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're in.
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
Driving too close to the car in front gives you less time to react. You may not realise that you're tailgating. Leave a 2-second gap between you and the vehicle in front. When it's wet, leave a 4-second gap. By staying back, you give yourself time to react. Stay safe. Stay back. Highways England, connecting the country.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search One You.
Brilliant, I've finally quit.
I can keep up with my kids now.
I feel like I've got my life back.
It's an amazing feeling when you stop smoking. Experience it for yourself with help from Smoke Free. Our range of free support can help you quit for good. From our app to emails, face-to-face and online communities. Search Smoke Free, because there's only one you.
Love Sport. The Opposition View on Love Sport.
It is time for the Opposition View on Love Sport, on the Chelsea Fan Show on Love Sport, no less. Me, Matt Beadle, here with the guys on the Chelsea Fancast, Stamford Chidge, Clayton Bierman, and Clayton's son, Charlie Bierman. Hello, Charlie.
Hi.
Just going to get you to do a little intro for every little segment that we have. Next up, we have Derek Payne, ex-Watford midfielder, on the line. Watford, of course, without a win this season. Chelsea go to Vicarage Road tomorrow night at 5:30 p.m. Derek, it's great to have you on. What do you make of Watford's chances tomorrow?
Hello, Matt. Thanks for having me on. Well, obviously, everyone will be tipping Chelsea. Chelsea in great form. Watford bottom of the league. So, realistically, you expect Chelsea to win. We just hope, though, that there's a bit of motivation there for the Watford players. You know, knowing that outside of that dressing room, I don't think many people are tipping Watford to get the 3 points. So they've got to grab onto any positive things. They're unbeaten in 3. Yeah, it's 3 draws. But they need to have the mentality that they can go into this game tomorrow night and win the game.
Derek, hi, it's Clayton. Nice to talk to you. I'm sort of pretty fascinated because Watford have had the sort of model that we had in terms of manager churn, if I can use that word. Do you think if they would have stuck with the previous manager that they'd be in the position they are now?
Hello, Clayton. Yes, it's a good question. I don't think they would be. I think they would still be in the sort of similar position. Because as you know, as most people know, it takes time to turn things around. And I think Abby Gracia done a great job, but it got to the stage where I think there was unrest between the players. I feel he kind of had his set 14, 15 players, and I think there make the change. So, in answer to your question, I think, you know, it's not going to change quickly. It ain't going to change in 3-4 weeks. This is like they need to start getting results, obviously, quickly. Need to get that first win. But I think it wouldn't have changed much whether Javi Gracia was still here or not. I think this is going to take 2 or 3 months to put right.
Well, I'll give you your first win after this weekend, Derek, if that's all right. But more seriously, mate. I mean, what you know occurs to me is that they've got problems up front with both Welbeck and Troy Deeney out. And we were talking actually before you came on air about the fact they're kind of using Delafeo as like a, you know, kind of an auxiliary number 9. I mean, does that worry you about their ability to score goals? I mean, Delafeo is a great player, and I remember when he tore us apart a couple of years ago. But he's not a number 9, is he?
No, that is a little bit of a problem. It's more the physical presence they're missing. Yeah, exactly. So teams know that we've got to try and pass through the pitch. So they press high. If we have to go long, and we haven't got that physical presence there at the moment. So it is a concern because they ain't scoring goals. But Isaac Success is back tomorrow. He's been out injured a while. He's a physical presence. I doubt he'll start, but you've got that option then of maybe having that physical presence that you're talking about. It's definitely a concern, and obviously them two Pereira has been playing up front. Delafeu, they're not recognised strikers.
Good players, but not strikers.
Exactly, good players, but not strikers. And but the way we play, his philosophy is. I think it's going to be interesting tomorrow. His philosophy will be. I feel teams have kind of underestimated Chelsea a little bit because you couldn't go into the transfer market. Teams I'm talking about, like Southampton, like Burnley, and they probably had a go at you, try to take you on. That won't happen tomorrow. Watford under Flores will be, you know, defensive, trying to stay in the game, and it might just ask a few questions of your younger players. I know they're great players, but that's what you've got to try and do is get into their minds, mentally get into their minds that they can't break Watford down. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm hanging on to that Watford can be resilient.
Derek, I think that's an absolutely superb point. We were talking about this a minute ago, and you know, basically Chelsea had a problem on Wednesday because they didn't know really how to break United down, who, you know, were playing with 5 in midfield and were defending, you know, for a lot of the match and trying to hit us on the break. And I do wonder that. I mean, actually, all the teams that we have played away from home this year have all come at us: Wolves, Norwich, Burnley. And I think if you do that, if you do basically play like the away team, you know, we might find it hard. I think that's actually a really good ruse, Clayton.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think we have struggled to break teams down. Is Trevor Chalobah likely to be playing tomorrow? Because obviously we've got an affection for him.
Yeah, of course with Chalobah.
Nat. Sorry, it's Nat Chalobah. I'm thinking about his brother's called Trevor. Sorry, yeah. Go on, carry on. Sorry.
But, well, yeah, I think he will play. I think he will start. Capu's out injured. Tom Cleverley's out injured, and it's kind of he's played the last 2 or 3 games he started. Still concerned. He played really well at Tottenham 2 weeks ago. Wasn't so effective in the last game against Bournemouth, but I think he needs that run of games with his injuries he's had. He's a long-term injury. He needs to play. So I would imagine he'll play, and obviously, hopefully, with a point to prove, he can put on another good performance because he played really well against Tottenham away.
No ex-Chelsea player needs any motivation to play well at Tottenham.
It's true enough.
Derek, mate, it's been great having you on. Just before we get your prediction, one very quick question from me. You played for a bit at Flackwell Heath. Did you play there with a Super Simon Garner by any chance?
Super Simon Garner? No, I didn't. I didn't actually, no.
I must have come slightly earlier in your career then. Yeah, an ex Blackburn Rovers striker, of course, very, very good goal scorer. Held the record before Alan Shearer broke it.
How about that?
Bit of his time at Flackwell Heath. Anyway, Derek, before you go, a prediction for tomorrow's game.
A prediction? To be honest with you, I have to be realistic. I think probably a narrow 2-1 win for Chelsea. I think Watford will make it hard for them, though. But just the form that Chelsea are in, I think Chelsea probably have too much firepower for Watford tomorrow.
Lovely. Derek, thanks for joining us.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right.
That was ex-Watford midfielder Derek Payne there. He seems pretty resigned to the fact that
nice
it's going to be...
man,
Yeah,
though. I
lovely
liked
fella.
him.
A lovely
man.
fella.
Derek.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
guy, Derek.
And
We'll have
very
him back
honest
on.
as well, actually.
Well, I think you have to be.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't really, do you? But I'm not.
What a great response. You have to be. No, you don't. You don't have to be honest at all. No, shut up, Matt.
Not in this line of work, mate. But no, I think he was, and I really do. I do absolutely agree with his point. It backs up what we were saying earlier. As I said to him, that actually I do think we find it hard to break down some of these stubborn teams who want to pack the defence and the midfield. Because in a sense, as I said, you need a bit of nous and experience to figure out how to do that. And I think going back to the United game, it was clearly what happened, I think, between the two halves. Frank and Jody got into them at half-time, said, look, if you want to break them down, this is what you've got to do. Now go out and do it.
But do you not think that was a lesson learned and they won't be so slow in their build-up? They'll try and get the ball forward a lot quicker. And the fact is that Tammy is a better hold-up player than Mitchie, which might also work in our favour.
Yeah, I Tammy's unquestionably a better striker than Batshuayi. I also think, Tammy hasn't scored for 5 games. He's not scored since the Southampton game. So he's due a goal, I think. So I'd be very pleased to see him pick up one tomorrow. I think generally, just looking back across the season so far, one of the things that's impressed me most about this side is how quickly the younger players are learning. That is a sign of really good players
and really good coaching.
Well, of course, but I think you can give credit to the players too, and they are really picking things up quickly and they're learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, the record at Vicarage Road is quite interesting since they came back into the Premier League. 1 lost, 1 drew. And if you look at the last 2 seasons, only 1 man has scored at Vicarage Road for Chelsea.
Eden Hazard.
Eden Hazard, no longer at the club, of course. So who is going to step up, gents?
Well, Pulisic is clearly, in some respects, I would hate to heap more hype on him, which I think was
That's easy for you to say.
It was actually. I practiced
flowed
it before.
Out, mate.
I know. I
heap
practiced
more
it
hype.
I would hate to heap more hype on him. See, it's easy for me to say, not so easy for you to say.
No.
But no, because I think people unfairly did that when he was bought. He's obviously going to be the replacement for Hazard. He. But what he did last weekend was fantastic. To score a hat trick like that, perfect hat trick on your first goals for the club. It took Hazard a season and a half to score a hat trick for Chelsea. So these things don't happen every week. But I think the thing that impresses me most about him is that he offers us something different, because this is a kid who is prepared to run at a defence straight at them and also have the ability and the confidence to pull the trigger and put the ball on the net. And you've got Willian, who I love, as we know. I've got big Willian love. And be careful how I say that. And, he will always go down the left or the right, and he'll do a little trick and he'll beat a couple of players, and he always then curves round and either tries to pop a shot off and bend one in, or he tries to lay the ball off. Pulisic, he's not interested in that. He's going straight for goal. And you need that. And Charlie's going to make an even better point.
Yeah, well, I think that is what quite a lot of teams are missing at the moment. They're all trying to pass the ball in the net.
Yes.
Dad gets annoyed about that quite a lot.
So do I.
And Pulisic takes the shot.
Yeah.
So
just
absolutely.
Direct. Absolutely, Charlie.
Absolutely, mate.
Yeah, you absolutely need that. And positively buzzing to be a Chelsea player, it seems, as well. You could tell how much it meant to him, that first goal.
They all are.
All the stuff that you read about him has been how resilient he's been as a person, wherever he's been. And it can't be easy, going from one league to the Bundesliga and then coming to the Premier League. And it looks like he's been managed really well, and he obviously was frustrated at the beginning, but he's put his head down and got on with it.
Yeah. And seems to really get on with Michy Batshuayi as well. They seem to have a bit of a bromance going on, which can only be a good thing.
But I think all the players are getting
scary,
on,
that little thing they did after the Southampton
I missed that.
goal.
What was that?
It wasn't quite Dele Alli proportions.
No.
But
I don't want to get into any...
It was like a handshake.
Yeah, that was it was very unpleasant.
Don't want any Arsenalisms creeping in or Spursisms. We can't have that. That needs to be drummed right out of them quickly.
Gents, we are sadly near the end, but we were going to have Kerry Dixon on the show this evening, so it would be remiss of us not to perhaps mention him. And I know, Clayton, you had a little memory of a Chelsea-Watford game from the past.
Yeah, Chidge very kindly has set out some results from years gone by, and there was a
just to big him up,
famous goal that he scored. We won 3-1 16th of March 1985, and it was a near-post shot. And I was pretty convinced that there was a mole in the ground because the ball skipped just as the ball went in, and we all thought that a mole had just popped up and backheaded it in. So, Kerry, if you're listening, I need further information on that, please, and whether you gave the mole the assist.
Well, there you go.
And Chid, you're completely 100% convinced that he will remember this, Kerry Dixon.
Well, every time we've ever had him on the show and we talk about his goals, he does. Canna's said it the other week, you know. Kerry, I think he knows every single one of those 193 goals that he scored like his children. You know, it's brilliant. It's amazing to see.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember what I did last week. You know, it's phenomenal.
Gents, we are at the end of the show. A prediction from you both. How do you think it is going to go at Vicarage Road tomorrow evening?
Well, I'm quite confident, actually, which is a very bad sign. But I'm going to go for 3-1, I think. We got too much for them.
I was going to say exactly the same.
Well, that's all right. It's consistent.
In homage to the mole.
Yeah.
I was going to go 3-1 as well. Charlie?
I'm thinking clean sheet. 2-0.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Good
Love
man.
that.
Why not?
Brilliant. Gents, it has been nothing but a pleasure, as always. Thank you, Stamford Chidge.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you, Clayton.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Charlie. We'll get you back on, no doubt, sometime soon. This has been the Chelsea Fan Show on Love Sport. We'll see you next Friday at 7 p.m.
This is Love Sport.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
It's cancer, they said. My first thought, let's just say it wasn't money, but time off work for treatment and trips to the hospital, paying the mortgage, and the cost of living doesn't go away just because you're living with cancer, and Macmillan can help with that too. My advice? Take their advice, soon as. I did.
Macmillan, right there with you. Search Macmillan Money Worries.
As a busy mum, you're juggling loads of things. And when your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics.